Yo. Look, get ready. Get ready. The war didn't begin with tanks or missiles crossing borders. It began inside the invisible highways of information, where narratives travel faster than truth and perception becomes a battlefield of the modern world. Every screen glowing and every home became a relay tower for stories carefully shaped long before they reached the public ear. Most people believe the signal. New cycles repeating identical phrases across different channels. Experts appearing on cue to explain the same conclusion. Trending topics rising and falling like synchronized tides. It looked organic, spontaneous, like the voice of a global conversation. But behind the curtain, the signal had architects, media conglomerates aligned with political interests. Marketing firms study a psychological response curves. Algorithm designers learning how outrage spreads faster than calm reasoning. Entire departments built to refine messaging until it slid into the public mind without resistance. A perfectly tuned broadcast system, but every system has blind spots. That's where the breach begins. Somewhere between midnight and dawn, when the city network traffic slows and surveillance routines fall into predictable rhythms, a new presence enters the digital terrain. Not a corporation, not a government agency, just a single operator navigating the maze. And his name is Don Rothschild. Years studying the architecture of propaganda made one thing clear: the signal itself was never neutral. The headlines people trusted, the narrative shaping public reaction. The crisis amplified across every platform. They all travel through the same concentrated infrastructure. Control the signal, control perception, so the mission becomes simple in theory, dangerous in practice. Break the signal, encrypted tunnels open quietly through forgotten server paths. Data packets reroute through independent nodes that don't belong to any broadcast network. Archives once buried under corporate security layers begin surfacing like lost cities rising from deep water. Inside those files, the mechanics of influence appear with brutal clarity. Draft narratives prepare before global events even unfold. Political talking points distributed to multiple media outlets simultaneously. Crisis response scripts predicting how populations will react to economic shocks. The pattern becomes undeniable. What people call public debate often starts as a manufactured echo. The signal war isn't about destroying systems, it's about exposing them. Every document released in independent networks creates another fracture in the polished surface of official storytelling. Citizens begin comparing what they see on their screens with the raw files now circulating through underground forums. Questions multiply. Why do different news networks repeat identical phrases word for word? Why do certain investigations vanish the moment they approach powerful institutions? Why do crises always seem to benefit the same financial circles? The more people ask, the weaker the signal becomes. Authorities respond the only way centralized systems know how. Fact check campaigns appear overnight. Digital platforms quietly throttle discussions that mention the leak archives. Experts return to television panels insisting the breach is misinformation, but information spreads faster than containment. Copies replicate across the centralized networks where no single authority can erase them all. The architecture of propaganda begins losing its greatest advantage. The assumption that citizens will never see behind the broadcast. Awareness becomes a chain reaction. Once individuals realize how perception was engineered, the entire media environment starts looking different. Headlines feel rehearsed, debate sounds scripted. The illusion of spontaneous consensus dissolves under scrutiny. The signal war shifts momentum. What began as a quiet breach in the night transforms into a distributed awakening, with thousands of independent observers analyze the same data and reach the same conclusion. The story they were given was only part of the truth, and once enough people stop trusting the signal, the system built to guide public belief faces its greatest vulnerability. A population that finally understands the battlefield, because in the age of information, power no longer belongs only to those who broadcast the message. It belongs to those who reveal how the message was made. Ready.